Hari Om. We are in chapter 16, which is titled Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yogo. That means we are meant to make a vibhag or distinction between Devasura Sampati. Vibhaga. Devi Sampatti and Asuri Sampatti. We all have the wealth of the divine as well as the evil. What do we do with that wealth? Do we at all distinguish between the two? Is our task now. How does Bhagwan arrive at this stage? Let's take it from the beginning. We know that everyone is made up of the same Panchatattva. Isme kya farak hai? But at the same time, everyone behaves in vastly different ways to the same situation. That doesn't even need elaboration. We saw in today's post, Snehaji had sent a beautiful post where there's this man who is complaining about everything, saying I'm in hospital and I've had a gallbladder operation. You read that. And you even loved that post. So did I. He's complaining and then he's saying, oh, now I've turned 60 and the work that I did for 30 years, I have lost it because of retirement, feeling at a loss. And at the same time, yes, worse things have happened. My son has failed his college exam or whatever because he met with an accident. With so much of complaining, in this very same situation, his wife quietly took his page where he was scribbling down all his complaints. And you will wonder, how can there ever be a brighter side to this? It really sounds very bleak and extremely distressing. Yes, at first sight it does. But you will be surprised. She wrote down a new set of words for him. And when he read it, he said, hey, yes, there's a new way to look at it. Yes, I'm free of my gallbladder because it was a painful thing after all. And hey, I'm 60, I've retired. Now I can do something that I have really loved all my life. It could be music or art or friends or traveling, whatever. I'm free. So retirement is not as bleak as it sounds. And hey, my son has survived the accident. It could have been worse for him. So what? He can take the exam again. The same piece of paper looked so different. Now, the question is, why? And you'll see this everywhere, all around you, even in us. Sometimes we react in ways which are very sattvic to the world, and the world remains the same. And in the same situation, there are people who are looking at the bright side and actually finding it a blessing. I have retired. Wow, it's a blessing. My son survived the accident. Wow, it's a blessing. My gallbladder doesn't hurt anymore. I'm in hospital to get rid of it. Wow, it's a blessing. Is life really a blessing, or is it as painful as we make it? It's up to us. Why do people behave differently? That's the question for us. And we all know very well, we have read it in chapter 14, that it is our gunas, our temperaments. And the temperament that we have is what we have cultivated. It's not that, yes, we have inherited through our vasanas, but even in the previous lives, our vasanas are cultivated by us for our future use. So, it's up to us. It's up to us, not the sansar. We cannot change or alter the sansar. That would be an exercise in absolute murta and futility, ignorance. How would one say, oh, I don't want this. I want everything anukul to me. Anukul means conducive to me. I don't want anything pratikul to me. Now, Bhagavan has already in the previous chapters, in the 9th chapter actually, he had said that all the people who are living with vain hopes, ऐसा हो जाता तो अच्छा था, वैसा हो जाता, जो हो रहा है वो हमको नहीं पसंद है, ऐसा कोई और होना चाहिए. Vain hopes, मोघ आशा, मोघ में आशा रखना, and sansari sukh, and futile actions and fruitless gyan. So Krishna says that moghasha, mogha karmana, mogha jnana vichetasaha. In the 9th chapter he says, it is in this way that some people spend their lives in vain hopes, vain actions, vain pursuits of outer knowledge. And how has he termed them? In the 9th chapter he has said, Rakshasi Masurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Shritaha. These are people who have embraced a demonical, that means devilish nature. Who has embraced? We ourselves have embraced a demonical nature, and then we say, why is the world so troublesome to me? He says, no, it's your nature which is perceiving it like that. And therefore that post which was sent made so much sense to us today. When Snehaji sent it, that yes, hey, everything is a blessing. I'm free of my gallbladder pain. I'm free of my tedious job. I can pursue my hobbies. My son has survived. Life is beautiful. Gratitude for the Bhagwan and surrender. Surrender. I land up in hospital not because of my misfortune, but because I'm going to be treated and I'm going to be okay. And for that goodness, why don't you surrender? Walk into the hospital and surrender, because there are people to look after you. So this surrender and gratitude is something we are forgetting, and Bhagwan has already told Arjun in the 9th chapter, these such people, they are embracing Rakshasi Masurin, Rakshasi, devilish attitudes. Why? Now, you may think it's a strong word, but actually it simply means that it's an evil which will bind us, which binds us. That means it makes us dependent on all situations around us, and that bondage leads to sorrow. Bhagwan is saying that's why I'm calling it demonical. And in the 9th chapter he had also said, what about the opposite? Mahatman nastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashritaha. But those who embrace the divine nature and want to know me, knowing me as the source of all things, Krishna, such people, oh, I love such people, he said. This was a very brief reference that Krishna had made to Arjun about Rakshasi, and that is Asuri and Devi Pravritti. But he had not had a chance to elaborate because Arjun had other questions. And therefore, Krishna said, okay, I'll answer your questions first. And now there's a time in chapter 16 to refer back to elaboration of what are these two pravrittis, Rakshasi, the evil, the demonical, and the divine. Yes, we have both of them. This doesn't mean that the Gita is very anxious to start, promising the paradise to those who are virtuous and damning to hell to those who are not virtuous. No, Gita is not in a hurry to do that, not anxious at all to do that. That is part of Abrahamic religions, that if you are virtuous, then you are promised paradise. No. Here, the reason why virtues are going to be elaborated in this chapter 16. What virtues they are. But first we must know why. Why do we need them, those virtues? Are they binding us more and more to sansar? If they are, then it's in my interest to free myself. And therefore Bhagwan says that freeing of yourself from the sansar that is binding you and the sorrows that the sansar brings is my whole attempt and intention, so that you come closer to me. So it's not that I cultivate virtues of satyam and ahimsa and non-violence and truthfulness and yes, I gain Bhagwan or paradise or anything. No, it's not a straight jump like that, but the way is cleared, the path is cleared, the readiness for knowing Bhagwan has been created because we have moved away from the sthul, from the jad, from the gross to the subtle, and made our minds and our pursuits and our efforts and our yagya and tapa, as they call it, more subtle, more towards God. That subtlety, that movement is what is attempted. Virtuosity for its own sake is very childish. It's like a moral science lesson in class 5. You say, oh, you must tell the truth and you must never fight and you must always forgive. Okay, but the child is not aware of the consequences of the opposite. If I do that, so what? So that reflection doesn't happen until he grows up. A reflective quality. Now Asuri Pravritti, we all have it, and divine qualities also we all have it. But having too much of the Asuri Pravrittis, which we are going to talk about, what happens? It's like a spoonful of muddy water which is mixed in our vessel of life. Our entire vessel of life becomes muddy. Take a big vessel even in the kitchen, and it's a big vessel. You'll say, oh, there are 10 gallons of water in this. So what? 1 spoon of muddy water, doesn't matter. Okay, try it. 1 spoon of muddy water and 10 gallons of water in that vessel gone. life is exactly like that. That we are not careful about some of our aberrations in our nature, in our swabhav, in our reactions, and then we say, हाँ ठीक है, थोड़ा ही reaction किया था, गुस्सा किया था, थोड़ा ही तो unforgiving है, but I'm justifying my non-forgiveness because that person has wronged me and he has insulted me, and he has deprived me of something or other. I'm justifying my non-forgiveness, my anger, my resentment, and I keep justifying it. ठीक है, that is our spoonful of muddy water, and the vessel of life gets nicely muddied and sullied by it. Bhagavan says, be careful. What about Devi qualities? There are lots of Devi virtues, and there are, in chapter 16, he is going to enumerate no less than 26 of them. And we'll say, oh really? How can I ever achieve all of them? No, the idea, catch hold of one and the rest will follow. That is one spoonful of sugary water. So I have the same 10 gallons of water in my vessel in the kitchen, and I say, kya farak padta hai? And I take a spoonful of sugar and I add it to that water. It will become sweet. The water will be sweetened. Our vessel of life is like that. Take even one virtue out of the ones that Krishna is going to talk about and just follow it. पूरी शिद्दत के साथ follow that one virtue and say, मैं इसको पकड़ के रखता हूँ. It's like catching hold of the tail of the cow and then saying, let the cow just draw me and drag me where it will, because I have the cow ka pooch with me. That's one virtue. Anyone. Now we are really curious. Arjun, this goodness that you're talking about, Arjun must be thinking, how can I achieve that goodness? And the whole mystery is that this definition of goodness can never change. It has been there since the beginning of time. The goodness of man has been the same in the caveman as in the man of technology, the 21st century man and woman. Man here stands for humans. The definition of goodness cannot change. It has stood the test of time. Every prophet of every religion is going to stand testimony to the goodness of man and to the virtues and say, yes, these are the virtues. Every prophet, every religion, throughout time, 4,000 years ago, what was goodness, or whatever was goodness in the Ram Rajya, the kingdom of Ram, is the same goodness of man today. Can we imagine the absoluteness of this? These are not definitions that are created out of, okay, this is an age of technology, so we need a new definition of what goodness of man is. No, it doesn't work like that. It is an absolute, not in the cosmic sense, but it is something that's unchanging. It cannot change. So goodness remains goodness over the years. Now we are really curious. What goodness is Bhagavan talking about? Is it really something that I can achieve? Of course you can. Of course Arjun can. Arjun is a common man of sansar. And he is not, of course he has done 12 years of tapasya also. He is a man of maybe more perseverance and dhriti and tapasya and austerity than us. But still a common man. If he can, we can too. And if Krishna can offer this knowledge to Arjun, he is through Arjun offering this knowledge to us. And therefore we are as much a part of the listening audience of Krishna as Arjun is. Because he wants to transform his life, so do we. So chapter 16 turns out to be a formula for transformation to goodness and peace. Is that so? But when a solution is offered, we must first know the problem. That's what happens in classroom if there is a moral science class and then the teacher says, you must do this, that's all, because I say so. And that's how ritualistic religion has also dictated to mankind. You must do this. Itna daan karna hai. 7% of your property, of your earning, not property, has to be donated every year. But Gita is a little more scientific in that sense. Instead of dictating, it doesn't dictate things, it doesn't create dictums, it doesn't create dogmas. It tries to get people to understand why I need that change. only then a person will want to change. Not because the Brahmin said it, the Pandit said it, the Gita said it, the Vedas said it, or my moral science teacher said it. Transformation of human psychology never happens with someone talking down to us. And therefore the Bhagavad Gita is never talking down. It says, come on, let's have a dialogue. We are on equal ground. And from this equal ground, we are going to transform our lives. In order to understand what needs a transformation, we need why. What's our problem actually? Problem statement has to be made. First problem. Everything that is in the world of Vyakti, Vastu, Paristhiti, people, situations, it all has two faces for us. Everything has two faces. या तो वो हमें सुख देता है, कोई भी हो, व्यक्ति, वस्तु हो,